I like to start with the latter part of the questions.
Okay, sure. You can do that.
But producing is the worst.
The worst.
It's just the worst. No.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of the Community. My name is Brad Beauchamp, and I'm here with the amazing Crimulus. He's a singer-songwriter, a producer, a performer, a streamer. Crimulus, thank you so much for being here on the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Wow, we're glad to have you. So, what first got you into music?
Well, I don't know. I've done it my whole life. So I was very musical as a kid. I've always kind of had the ability to pick up an instrument and play something on it, even as a little kid. Probably in middle school, I got into band. I played the trumpet.
Nice. And
really through my whole life, through high school, I was playing music of some sort. It's just always been there. So I don't know. I guess that's the short answer, is it's just always been there.
I love it. So it started with trumpet.
Yes. Yeah, and so in high school, I played like a lead trumpet,
Nice.
but I also played the baritone for a concert band, which is it's basically like a big trumpet, somewhere between the trumpet and the tuba. Yeah.
And now you play baritone guitar.
That's true. So, kind of to that point, because music had always been in my life, I never really noticed that it was something I needed. In college. So I was about 2 years in. I went to a comedy show at the Student Union. I went to West Virginia University. At the Student Union, they would have these free shows. And one of the comedians there played guitar as part of his act.
Nice.
And his whole thing was he played like the beginning of a song and then would stop. And he's like, "Don't you hate when people do that at parties?" And so he played LaGrange from ZZ Top, the little intro, and Breakfast at Tiffany's. And at this point, it had been a couple of years since I'd really made any music. And something about that hit me. And I was like, I can do that. And I bought a guitar. And that was probably 2000. I started writing songs in 2001. And, that's how music forcefully made its way back into my life.
Love it. Well, been listening to your music on Apple Music, actually streaming all over the place. And in the midst of all the fuss and there's a very big difference in the kind of musical genres that your music covers. Do you see yourself as writing a particular type of song, or do you see yourself, has it changed as you've grown over the years?
It's definitely changed. I think I've become more open to being open in the lyrics. So earlier songs are very abstract and such, but in terms of genre or style, I never, songwriting for me is like an involuntary process. It's like my heart beating. It doesn't mean that it's so core to me that I have to do it. It's just when I do it, it's just a thing. And so I'm kind of like guiding it as it comes out. I'm not really, it's not a process that I go through. So I don't have an intention usually for a genre. Most of the things that I write sound like they're folk because it's me on an acoustic guitar. I typically write on my acoustic guitar. But beyond that, it's just a song that comes out. And then once I put my producer studio hat on, then maybe it starts to cheat into a country song or a rock song or whatever I feel like it should be.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, speaking of producer hat, I definitely hear that in the tracks that I've been listening to, and that folk, I wouldn't say necessarily does define your music. Some of it sounds hard rock, some of it sounds country. I can hear that too in certain tracks. But honestly, it runs the gamut. Some of them are pop songs. So I love that. So you're producing, you're songwriting, lyrics, performing. Which of those hats would you say comes easiest for you, and which one's like the toughest? Which one takes the most time?
Well, I like to start with the latter part of the question.
Okay, sure. You can do that.
Producing is the worst.
The worst.
It's just the worst. No, it's a skill that I just can't. I just make very incremental gains at.
Yeah.
It's not intuitive to me, and it's a different kind of art than the music itself. You have to know a lot, and it's a battle. I can't really reuse things. Every time I take a new song to the studio, it's like I'm starting from scratch, or like slightly more than the last time from scratch. But the easiest, so most of my life, I've always considered myself an introvert, but predominantly because I was kind of awkward with interacting with people and not really understanding the social contracts, all these kind of things. But with music, I've found I love performing, even with the trumpet. I was a lead trumpet, and I would at halftime shows in marching band. I'm up there. My dad used to talk about how I'd be up there just stomping my foot and playing and being into it, and I love that. And I realized, people talk about how with an introvert, you lose energy being around people, or you gain energy back from being alone. But more importantly, it's that being with people makes you feel drained, right? And I never felt that. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm an introvert, but I like being around people. I can't I'm usually the one that they're telling to go home because it's late. So I realized just later that I'm kind of a shy extrovert. So performing is actually of those, it's my favorite because I just I like being up there on stage and presenting a piece of myself.
Absolutely. Well, I absolutely hear that in your performances. What would you say your creative process is like when you're writing stuff?
Yes.
It's all things. It sounded like earlier what you were saying is it's almost an unconscious thing that you're kind of letting it guide you.
Yeah, I would say I guide it.
Nice.
It's a lot of people portray it as kind of a spiritual, like channeling, and I can feel some of that, but for me it's like I wouldn't write songs if I didn't try to write songs. So I don't even know exactly why I do. I think subconsciously, most of the stuff I would say is subconscious, but I just feel like that's an outlet for things that I want to say that I can't seem to say other ways. But unless I sit down and write a song, they don't just come out. Every now and then an idea will kind of pop into my head, but it's I decide I want to write a song. I'll sit down with my guitar. I'll play a chord or something. Maybe I have an idea. Maybe I came up with a clever something while I was out on a walk. Yeah. And I just iterate. So I play that chord and like try to sing a melody on top of it, or I'll throw in, once I get certain pieces, and I'll try to sing to it, and sounds will come out, and it'll be like and and I'll just try to match that. I'm like, well, what words actually fit that? And once those words come, I'm like, well, now I know what the song is about. So it's like I don't know. I really don't know what the song is, but that is my process. I just let it I kind of visualize it like currents, and I'm just kind of like gently pushing the currents until a thing appears that I like, and that's a song.
That's really cool. Well, most of your work online, they are solo, right? With you performing drums, guitar, vocals, bass, all the things. Save for one that I found, which was a collaboration with Philip Taylor and Perfect Words. Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, he and I have been friends for a really long time, and we're kind of musical soulmates in the way that we work really well together, and we bicker really well together. But we've just written songs together for a long time, and a few years ago I was so I'm originally from West Virginia. He lives in Virginia nearby, and I was home visiting, and I was like, we should get together and write a song. And over the period, I think it took us 2 days. It took a long time to get that song out.
2 days.
But we were just sitting down trying to write a song, and that's what came out. I like that one in particular because it showcases, if you knew his stuff, you can really see how both of us contributed to that, and how it's neither of us. The final product is not really either of us. It's a neat blend.
It's a great collaboration between you both. Yeah, the vocals in it, the guitar melody, everything. It really came together well. Cool. So nice work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, one of the fun things I found out when researching is your involvement in February Writing Month. Can you tell me a little bit more about what February Writing Month is?
It's February Album Writing Month.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
it's fine. Or FAWM, FAWM for short. And it's just a challenge, just like I'm saying. Like I probably won't write songs if I don't force it. And it's exactly that. It's to get songwriters to sit down and write 14 songs in the month of February.
That's cool.
And actually, Phil and I have always, or not always, but going way back, we've done that together. And we would give each other additional challenges on top of that. So we're going to write an album, but you need to write a song where all the lyrics are, the first letter is the alphabet, or you need to use the word disillusionment in your song, or I actually like using big words perpendicularly. How do you work that into a
it's a good challenge.
Just to give us a little bit of, I find that having weird limitations actually opens up your creativity, because it's like it gives you an inflection point. It gives you a starting point. But he and I started that way, and then back in 2017, I decided that for the same reasons, I wanted to write a song every single day in the month of February, because I wanted to build that muscle. I wanted to write songs and learn how to write throwaway songs. Not because I want throwaway songs, but because you need to unblock yourself. And doing that has been, first of all, it's created hundreds of songs over the last couple of years.
Wow!
But it also lets me venture into song styles that I might not try. I wrote a song about it's called "If I Were an Almond."
If I were an almond.
It's not very good, but
hey, but you wrote it.
Exactly, and it's just get the song out, build a muscle, and
that's smart and cool. That's a good way to do it. Good muscles to flex.
For sure.
Okay, in a perfect world, in a dream world, imagine this, where you could work with any artist in the world. And you know what? I'm gonna up it, living or dead. Who would you want to work with?
This is a tough question.
Yeah, it is.
There have been a lot of people over the years that I thought, when I first started playing guitar, Eric Clapton was the king at that point.
Yeah.
Then once I got into more sophisticated kind of styles, not that he's not sophisticated, but it's a little bit different. Chet Atkins.
Oh yeah.
His technique is just mind-boggling. I also play banjo, so once I started getting into banjo, Ralph Stanley, Earl Scruggs, and of course Bela Fleck is like the king of banjo.
Amazing.
But despite having a lot of, I wouldn't even say influences, but people that I idolized, I think it would probably be someone like Dave Grohl.
Oh yeah.
Who is from the Foo Fighters and Nirvana, and he just seems to like if I could be someone in a different life, it would be him. He just seems to I don't know how to articulate it. He seems
amazing, honestly. Sure. I mean, he not only does he still seem down to earth somehow, even though he's one of the most famous people in the world, but like he also seems like just a great musician on many levels.
Yeah,
in many different ways.
And he's
that'd be fun
in lots of different bands, and he's just produced all this music, and he just seems like he's living the dream.
I agree. I think he would say he is.
Probably so, yeah.
Okay, what is your most useless talent?
I probably have a lot, but while I consider math is another one of my hobbies.
Okay.
So I consider this actually a important skill for me, but it has never actually served much of a purpose in my life. It's that I know pi to over 50 digits.
Over 50 digits.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to just because in high school it was a very nerdy thing to do, but it's actually like 20 something digits more than is necessary to calculate the diameter of the universe to within the accuracy of an atom.
The diameter of the universe.
Yes.
To an atom.
Yes, and it's I know.
Wow.
I know more digits.
Then you need to.
It's very useless, but it's fun.
Wow. Well, I asked the question and you answered.
That's right.
Good job. Well, one of my personal favorites of your songs is Waiting.
Somewhere along the line, I drifted so far off. By the time I could have noticed it was over. And while I long for other times, I'm not dismissing now at all. But I wonder if it all will end in closure. I'm out here in the wild, losing sight of what started it all. Life is a series of leaving wonderful over your shoulder. And I'll wait for a sign that I'll make it home. I'm waiting for, always waiting for a sign that I can go home. Going back now doesn't even make sense. Not like I'm living a desolate life. It's just I realize there's more life than I can live. I'm pretty happy with the time that I've spent, but it's not close to what I'd pictured, and I've spent countless hours appraising what is and what isn't. One day out of my control it'll end, probably some way I could have never contrived. And I'll wait for a sign that I'll make it home. I'm waiting for, always waiting for a sign that I can go home. And I'll wait for a sign that I'll make it home. I'm waiting for, always waiting for a sign that I can go home.
Let me just say, you just did an amazing job with it. Can you tell me what was behind that song?
Well, most of my songs I can't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because of that process, they just kind of come out, and I tell people, songs are like children. Mm-hmm. You're involved in every part of the process, the pregnancy, through all that, and then this child is born, and you really had you didn't choose much of it, like, you didn't like make any of those features happen, their personality or their hair color, all that kind of stuff. It just came out.
That's right? Your kid.
And that's how songs feel like to me. Yeah. It's like, I'm involved in this process, but then it comes out and it's this thing. It's like, oh, that's a little piece of me. Like I can, and you learn. I learn about myself from them. But the theme, like, I kind of use it as a self studying device, and the theme is home. So I live in Oregon. I'm from West Virginia. So
Sure.
The meaning is really about living in general. You know, the song is about how life is always moving and is probably never at any given moment exactly what you would have imagined it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the place that it came from.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I don't even remember what year I wrote that one. So it's hard to say what I was going through.
What was behind it.
Right. But it would be some point in my life where I felt like one of the first lines is somewhere along the line, I drifted so far off.
Mm.
And by the time I could have noticed, it was over.
Yeah.
That's life for me.
Yeah.
It's like it's not necessarily bad. It's just you don't really know where you are.
Yeah.
So that's the place that it ultimately comes from.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Sure.
That's good to know. One of the things that I love that you do is your streams. And I'd love to just hear more about them. Where do you stream? How do you like it? When did you start? What are some of your favorite things about it?
Sure.
Many questions there.
Yeah. And there's a lot I can share. I actually started in streaming about 5 years ago, but as a Minecraft gamer.
I love it. I love it. Minecraft.
Yeah. And I got into it, but I learned that there's, you know, so I stream on Twitch.
On Twitch.
Kind of
Great.
I do stream on YouTube now as well too, but
no, on both. Okay.
Right. But it's like a little bit of mini fame. So when you start to get some viewership, you actually get some of the like pains of fame without the actual fame and without the fortune, right?
Yes.
And you start to realize that you're playing in some dynamics that are challenging. And for my personality, it's really hard to deal with. Some people can just kind of brush it off, but I can't. So I kind of fell out of it. But this year, I kind of made a life change. I've had a career in tech for about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And it just finally started grating my soul enough that I'm like, I need to try to do something with music.
Yes.
And I knew I liked many aspects of streaming, and I was like, well, I'm just going to stream on there every day.
Love it. Every day.
Every single day. So I do an hour concert.
On Twitch.
On Twitch.
Yes.
Again, also on YouTube at the same time. It's just
yes.
But Twitch is kind of what I think of as the main target.
The main hub.
Yeah. And so I started doing that just to be performing. So I'm performing every day. You know, sometimes there's not really anyone seeing it, but
it's every day.
But it's good practice. Yeah. So I actually get, when you practice a song, it's very different when you're trying to play it for someone versus just playing it. Good performers, it's not, they know how to channel that energy, but having an audience makes a big difference. And I don't know if I got all the points to the question.
No, that was great.
Cool.
Okay, what's the first concert you ever attended? Who'd you see?
So I remember it very well. I was 6 years old, and I went to see Mel McDaniel at the Frederick County Fair in Virginia.
Nice.
And he was a country star who was very popular at the time. He had a couple of hits, and I loved him. He was my first musical. I love this guy. But that was kind of, as a kid, I didn't exactly choose it. It's just like I liked his music, and my family was like, "Oh, he's playing nearby. We should go."
Yeah, you went with your family.
But the first concert I went to, sort of by choice, was Alanis Morissette in high school.
Oh yes, absolutely. Was that if it was in high school for you? Was that Jagged Little Pill era?
Was dating? Yes, dating.
Yes.
Not that the gray hair doesn't date me, but yeah. And Radiohead actually opened for her.
That's great.
And I hated them.
Yeah, you were there for Alanis.
Exactly. At the time, I really hadn't, I grew up on 80s country.
I was just thinking exactly.
And then in high school, I kind of went into top 40, Rick Dees and the Weekly Top 40. I would always listen to that.
Which is not Radiohead.
It wasn't until college that suddenly that stuff started to make sense to me.
Yeah. Well... That's awesome. Do you still listen to country now?
Absolutely.
That's great.
Every 80s country especially has a cathartic thing for me. Something about it in the production quality, or just because I listened to it as a kid, it brings me back there. I love it. Yeah. But
that's great. Yeah. What's the most bizarre thing that's ever happened to you in your life?
That's a really hard thing
it is.
to Yeah, to just come up with on the fly. One of the more recent things though that happened is I just played a live show for the first time in a long time. I've been in a couple of bands, and it's been probably 5 years since I played. So I finally had a live show set up, and I went and played that just a couple of weeks ago. And I'm halfway through, and my ex-wife comes in.
Oh wow! to the show.
And it was it's strange because we have a son. She and I live only a mile apart. And we talk. We're on good terms and everything.
Yeah.
But this, we live kind of in Northwest, and this was in Southeast.
Wow! So she was on the other side of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very random.
That is.
This is a pretty bizarre occurrence.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's many places to go. Portland is a big city, right? Yes. So the odds of that at the same time, I count that. That's bizarre. Good answer. Okay, what's the best advice that you've been given in your life?
There's been a lot.
Okay.
But probably the best is related to being a parent. When my son was little, he's a teenager now, but when he was little, someone said to me, you should make sure, no matter what happens, no matter how tired, angry, whatever's going on that you feel, in every moment, try to find something that that makes you happy, that you love about that moment, because they go away. Yeah. And really fast. Like time just flies. And it was great advice, and not just as a parent, just in general.
Yeah, right.
You think
savor the moment.
If I think about waiting, and things have gotten so far off, right? But look at where I'm at now. Like, this is kind of cool too.
That's right.
And I'll say, this is one of the things I really like to tell people is, I've had a lot of things go not my way in life, but looking back, even though my life is nothing like I predicted, I couldn't be more thankful than to have a life that I couldn't have predicted. Who wants to live a life that's easy? You don't want the hard things, but how can you be you if you're not challenged? And
and unpredictability sometimes can lead to adversity, which can lead to growth, right? So
you find
that's great advice.
Find those moments.
I agree. That's not just parenting advice. That's just good advice.
Yeah.
Well, great answer. All right, well, we're I got just a few minutes left, and what I'd love to do is a rapid fire questions, real quick. Are you ready for me?
Not really, but
all right. What's the most delicious condiment?
Ooh, I don't know.
What is it?
Brown mustard.
All right, brown mustard. Favorite superhero?
Can't even think of superheroes. Captain America.
Captain America, absolutely. All right, would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
I would argue that every language in the world includes the one that animals speak.
Ooh, you're ruling me here. You know what? I'll take it. That's fair. All right, if you could travel backwards in time, where would you go? What would you do?
I would go back to where we don't really have good information. So probably back toward like the dinosaurs, and really see what the world is like then.
Love it.
Any time would be interesting to me, but the way back I think is.
Now, where can people find your streams? I know it's on Twitch and on YouTube, but I never got the name of the link. Yeah, where can people find you?
So on Twitch, I'm Crimulus Music. YouTube, I'm just Crimulus. There's a couple of different accounts, but you'll find the one that's music. And then Crimulus.com, that's Crimulus, will take you to all those places. That's probably the easiest place.
Perfect. Crimulus, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show and for answering all my weird questions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Well, I enjoyed it too. And thank you for joining us on Voices of the Community. My name is Brad Beauchamp. This has been Crimulus, and I hope y'all have a lovely day. Take care.
I'm out here in the wild, losing sight of what started it all. Life is a series of leaving wonderful over your shoulder, and I'll wait for a sign that I'll make it home. I'm waiting for, always waiting for